Call the member for Bligh.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. The Bligh government has confirmed it will strip $77 million in direct federal funding from state primary schools as it tries to pay for its budget bungling. These additional federal funds, which were allocated to correct a long-standing funding anomaly, were meant to deliver an extra $100 per year for the next 3 years to each of Queensland's more than 300,000 state primary school students. Announcing the extra funding late last year, Federal Education Minister Julia Gillard indicated she wanted the money to go directly to primary schools as discretionary funds. That meant if your school had 500 students, it would get an extra $50,000 a year in discretionary funds. Speak to any school principal, any P&C member or any parent, and you would know how much a real difference that money would make. In Parliament in May, I called on the Bligh government to guarantee the money would go directly to those schools. The Australian Primary Schools Principals Association clearly feared the money would be lost and wanted the same guarantee. It urged that the additional federal money go directly to the schools, saying, "We want to see that money reach the classroom so every government school gets an extra $100 a student. We don't want to lose it to the bureaucracy in the state." Sadly, during the budget estimates hearings, the Education Minister confirmed the fears of school staff and P&Cs that the money would be lost to bureaucrats in Education Queensland, intent on imposing a one-size-fits-all program on schools. Questioned about the anomaly funding, the Minister was unable or unwilling to explain why or what had happened to that funding. It was left to the Education Department Director-General to respond to the question. The DG said that, in terms of the federal money, the $100 per student will not go directly to a school based on per capita basis. We will target the money in which it will go to schools, in the manner in which it will go to schools, the DG declared. So forget about the $100 per student per year going straight to the school. There's not even a guarantee that any of the money will go to the schools. Principals and staff working with their P&Cs know where money can be spent to achieve the best education outcomes in their individual schools. The government's own recent Masters report into primary school education backed direct funding of schools to boost education outcomes. Jeff Masters said in his report, a shared challenge improving literacy, numeracy and science learning in Queensland primary schools, that the way to raise achievement levels in primary schools is to increase the resources and support available to schools. Individual schools will be best placed to determine the details of the resources and support they require to improve student outcomes and to meet targets. The Bligh government must guarantee that every cent of this money goes directly to the schools as discretionary spending. This additional federal money will make a significant difference to the education outcomes in state primary schools if it is given directly to those schools to determine how it is best spent. It should be not lost to those schools so that the Bligh government can use it to shore up its bungling efforts on the budget or pay for more bureaucrats. Every cent of every dollar of that additional $100 a year per student should go directly to the individual schools so they can determine how it is best spent. The Queensland Association of State School Principals has now written to school P&Cs about this issue. In that letter, the association's president, Norm Hart, said the association believed it was both fair and effective that this additional funding be used at the discretion of the schools to improve student outcomes and to meet targets. He urged that this be discussed at the P&Cs and with school leaders. I would encourage parents of state primary school students to question the Bligh government and its MPs about why this money has not gone directly to schools as was intended. The federal minister wanted the money to go directly to schools, the school principals wanted it to go directly to the schools, and parents expected it to go directly to the schools. Sadly, the Bligh government has kept the money for itself.